Okay, so I just made a tier list like this entirely and then realized something terrible. It's not that my OBS stopped, it's not that my computer crashed, it's that the video was 47 minutes long and nobody was ever going to watch that. So, we're going to try that again. My thought process is a little more streamlined, you can tell not by much, but we will see how that goes. This game is called Compile. It's a very interesting strategy card game. I really like it a lot because of all the different strategy elements you can really take to, and the fact that there's a lot of unique ways to play this game really however you want. Like, I think there's a lot of people who prefer shifting and retriggering. There's a lot of people who prefer just cycling through a draw. There's some people who just go full like explosive destruct mode and don't care if they win, they just want their opponent to suffer, that sort of thing. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start off with the compile card database order. So first one up on that is Apathy. Apathy 0. This card is I'll put these all up on the screen, by the way, don't worry. So you'll see that right now. Apathy 0. Your total value is increased by 1 each face down card in this line. That's definitely an okay card, but is it really the best? I don't think so. Um, it definitely it's one of those cards where it depends on how your opponent is playing the game, kind of as I said. If they are playing a lot of cards in general and not many high point value cards, this is a very good card. Especially in synergy with Apathy 1. But if they're just, throwing out like 5s and 6s the whole time, trying to get quick compiles, it definitely is underwhelming. Based on that fact, I think it tops out at a very high B tier. Still a good card, but not the best. Apathy 1, now this card is quite nice. I even, to some contention, am going to throw it in S tier. I really like cards where you can plan for their impact, but your opponent can't. And this is definitely one. Um, Especially given the fact that having cards in your line flipped face down still works to your advantage with the Apathy 0. This is definitely a powerful thing to have in your back pocket. To that extent, oh jeez, it sounds like an English essay. Okay, but Apathy 1 screws your opponent, still good for you. You can plan for it, they can't. Love that. That means S tier. Apathy 2. This is always a bit underwhelming. I feel like because you can't cover the bottom effect on this, it actually serves less use to you than I would hope. It's really about screwing your opponent over, but it doesn't do that all that effectively, so it justifies. Do I even say C tier? I am honest. Yeah, I'll say it. I'm gonna go C tier. The fact that your opponent can play a 5 in this line for free is really ridiculous. I actually don't like it a whole lot. Apathy 3, flip on opponent's face up card. That's always nice. It's like a B tier effect. Nothing crazy, nothing terrible. Value 3 is always nice. Apathy 4, can flip one of your face up covered cards. This is definitely situational. I don't hate it, but I don't think I would always end up using it. I do appreciate the fact that it is a value of 4, and it synergizes okay with Apathy, so it'll go B tier. And then Apathy 5, discard one card. Some 5s deserve a higher placement. This is not one of them. Moving on to Darkness. Darkness 0 is a crazy card. It is instant S tier. Crazy draw. Allows you to just trick with your opponent. I love it. Moving on. Darkness 1. Flip one of their cards. You may shift that card. Now this is real nice because sometimes your opponent will have cards you just want to absolutely get out of the way. And say it's a card covering a 5, you can then force them to discard. That's always nice. Um, Alternatively, you can then use this as a way to block a really good effect they have. Because you can use one of their cards to cover another card. And that's always a strategy I quite like. I think this justifies an A tier placement, but not much more. It's definitely reaching. Darkness 2, on the other hand, is the most broken card I've ever seen. All face down cards have a value of 4, and you can flip a covered card in this line. This card can get you a compile in like the starting 2 turns of the game. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I love this card. Nothing more said. Besides the fact that flip a covered card in this line effect is so broken, and more cards should have that. I don't know why they don't. Darkness 3, play one card face down another line. It's a good value. I appreciate it. Nothing crazy. B tier. Darkness 4, shift one face down card. This can honestly be a little bit better, but it's still going B tier. This is a nice recursion thing, and value of 4 is always appreciated, but Darkness really doesn't need the help in compiling. So that 4 is a little less useful than you would otherwise hope. That 5 is also just going to hit D tier. Nothing special about it. Deck doesn't really make good use of it. Death 0. I definitely like this card. It's going A tier. I don't think it, on reflection, I don't think it deserves an S tier, but it is certainly very, very good. Or maybe, I think it'll go very top of S, or sorry, very bottom of S tier. It gives you options. You could choose to delete your own card and recur something useful, or you could choose to just screw with your opponent. You do have to consider what effects might re-trigger, but especially if you use this after your opponent has compiled a line, and maybe just gotten like a card down or something, it's definitely very good. And it can definitely get you a leg up at the start of the game, which is why I appreciate it. Death 1, this card is definitely S tier, and not even like contentiously S tier. It effectively gets you another turn whenever you need it, in that if your opponent is doing something wacky and they might potentially win the game, you activate this, you get to draw a card, you get to delete a card, presumably if theirs, could be yours, and then you get to play your turn. That can be a huge turnaround, and just having that in your back pocket is a phenomenal play. So Death 1, S tier. Death 2, I think this is very useful. I would put it mid to high A tier. This is definitely very nice to have in your back pocket. And it wipes all at once, so there's no effect re-triggering, which is always good to keep in mind. Death 3, delete one face down card. It's okay. I think it's going to go high B tier. It doesn't do anything special, but it does it well. Death 4, I think Death 4 honestly is very high A tier. To me, deleting a 0 or a 1 is better than deleting a 1 or a 2. Zeros are crazy in this game. You typically need to get them out of the way when you see them. Or 1s. Zeros or 1s really are your main issue, and the fact that this card can take care of those is phenomenal. Also very high value card, and Death sometimes needs that, so I think it works out well. Death 5, so-so card, it's going D tier. Moving on to Fire. Fire 0. This card is incredible. It is actually insane. It is effectively a card that gives you draw 3 and the ability to flip 2 cards, which is just nonsense. Like, no card should have that much power. It has the high ground, it's just ridiculous. S tier. Fire 1, discard one card if you do delete one card. It is a delete card. It has a drawback. Maybe honestly B tier. I think you could justify this a low A tier. But the discarded card is very, very aggravating, especially for a 1. That actually undervalues it more than I would think. Fire 2, discard one card if you do return one card. I think having a return is honestly just as powerful as having a delete, and potentially even more so. It is going to waste a turn of yours, but if you return a very strong card, that sometimes is worth it. Fire 3, I like this card a lot, but it just isn't quite useful enough to reach into A tier. However, that end effect, it being an end effect in general, is quite nice. That gives you a lot of options that sometimes you don't have otherwise, and you could use it to activate more effects at the end of your turn, which is always nice, especially if your opponent isn't ready for you to do that. Fire 4, discard 1 or more, draw the amount +1. This lends credence to the idea of Fire actually being a very good draw protocol. Obviously, if you're basic like Spirit, Speed, Light, those are all very draw heavy. I think Fire actually is a very good challenger to that, in that it honestly has a lot more draw than people expect, but it does stuff aside from draw. Would I put this higher than B tier? No. Would I say it's very good for Fire to have overall? Yes. And then Fire 5, discard 1, that isn't really special. It's going D tier. Gravity. Okay. The Gravity 0 is the most situational of all the zeros for me. That being said, it can also be one of the most important and game-turning ones, so something to consider. You're never going to play this at the start of the game. That would be weird, but it definitely is very, very useful in the late game if the cards align right. That being said, it's going to earn a high A tier, but nothing more than that. A little too situational to be flat out S tier. Gravity 1, draw 2, shift 1 card either to or from this line. I definitely like it a lot. It's going to be kind of grouped around Gravity 0, though, where sometimes you would honestly want it in another line a bit more than Gravity, because Gravity compiles super, super quick. It has no trouble whatsoever compiling. So if you get that into another line, it's quite nice. But it being having to play in Gravity specifically isn't actually as good as you would hope. Gravity 2, flip one card, shift that card to this line. This is nice. It's not the craziest card ever, but one, you can use this to re-trigger stuff, and two, it works very well in synergy with Gravity 6. So, that being said, it is a bit deserving of a similar A tier placement, maybe a little lower on the chain. Still a nice card. Gravity 4, because there's no 3, shift one face down card to this line. I like it, but it's kind of doing a little too much, and by that I mean not enough, because you have the Gravity 5, you have the Gravity 6. Gravity 4 just has an identity crisis. It's supposed to be a value card. It can re-trigger stuff, which is nice, but like it just doesn't need to be what it is. I definitely appreciate it being a 4 over a 3, but if it was a 3 with a little more spice to it, that would honestly do me a little better. Gravity 5, this card is okay. It might justify a higher placement than these guys, but I think it's still D tier. Because you could play it face down. You could always play it face down. And it's definitely a good card to discard, so I think I will bump it up to C because you have that Gravity 6. It isn't doing anything special on its own, but because it is a good burner card, I actually appreciate it a little more. Because we have the Gravity 6, and this card is the best 6 in the game, hands down, no contention, it honestly earns a solid B tier spot. And for 6s, that's incredible, because 6s are supposed to be very high value with very significant drawbacks. This drawback of playing, a top card deck face down in that line, that actually works to Gravity 0. That actually is a strength for Gravity overall. So even when your opponent is gaining, you're gaining. And that is actually quite powerful. Moving on to Hate. Hate 0, delete one card. It's nice to have in your back pocket. It's nothing super crazy, but because you can recur it with no problems, unlike Fire 1, Fire 2, it actually is pretty effective. It works well with Hate 3 as well, so I'm going to give it the edge there and bump it up to A. Hate 1, discard 3, delete 1, delete 1. I like this card. I think it honestly is a little lower than Hate 0, though, because of the many drawbacks of it. Discard 3 isn't even that bad, because you could just be using that on like a low hand size, You only have to discard like one card, then you're fine. It's the delete one that annoys me, because it is going to re-trigger your opponent's effect. And if that's something you don't want, that can be quite annoying. So overall, good card. You have to be tactical with its functionality, though. Hate 2. This card is interesting because sometimes it deletes itself and nobody likes that, but that actually is a recursion card then. So frankly, it kind of goes like top of B tier. It's not really special, but it is useful sometimes. Sometimes it's really not, but you gotta take that gamble sometimes. Hate 3, decent value, definitely very good for draw. Hate needs it especially, so I think in synergy with those factors, it goes to A tier. Especially if you're playing a deck that can very easily recur other cards. You can use it to recur your hate cards. You can delete a bunch. You can kind of spam delete, and that lets you draw cards. So that's always nice. You gain while your opponent suffers. You know what I mean? Hate 4. This card constantly underwhelms me. I was a little generous to it last time, but I'm not gonna be C tier, bottom of C tier. I kind of hate this card. It annoys me. It's effectively Metal 6 in terms of how annoying it is. And Metal 6 at least is a 6. So like, if you can't beat out Metal, and especially Metal 6, you're doing something wrong. And then Hate, this is going to go slightly higher, because if you need to discard a card, this is an obvious chuck. If you need to play this face down, you can use that to then recur another card. I think that is sometimes useful. Because of the fact that you don't really need it, you actually do sometimes need it for deleting. And that is nice. Moving on to Life. I love Life so much. This is an amazing, amazing protocol. Life 0, very good. I need to work out if this card deletes itself before or after you cover it. I used to think it was after. I used to think it was before. I still need to check that. But this is incredibly good, and this is the card that brings about a lot of synergy with the rest of Life, which is why it has to go very, very high. Life 1 might surprise you. I think it's S tier. I think it's like almost not even like contentious S tier. The ability to flip one in the same turn, activate a bunch of your effects, potentially shut down some of your opponents. This is incredible. Like, that's effectively 2 turns in one. If you were to think of a card like Spirit 2 or whatever, where it's just like you may flip a card, this is 2 flips. It's two. Two is better than one. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty nice. Especially because of that Life Zero. It synergizes so well with face down cards. It's actually ridiculous. Love it. Life 1, S tier. Life 2, still very good. I do like this a lot. I think Flip is ultimately a bit better than Draw for this, but it's definitely going to go somewhere pretty high up here. I think partnering right next to Life 0 is a good place for it. Life 3, again, very good synergy with the other cards in its set. I think it's a little lower than these, but I do like how you can choose what line to play face down in. Sometimes that can be a game changer. And the fact that it's such a simple requirement, you know what I mean, is always going to be nice. Life 4, this is effectively a free draw if you play it well enough. And to me, this is nice because this is probably the highest point value draw card in the game. A lot of cards are not going to like you getting a draw with the 4 card. That's a combination of factors that doesn't typically happen. And even if it necessitates it covering another card, that's a fairly common occurrence. Like, you should be able to make that happen, and getting a draw out of that with that much value is pretty nice. Will I give it A tier? No. Will I give it high B tier? Yes. And then Life 5, I find this card is okay. It's nothing special. Life doesn't really boost it in any way, so it's gonna stay at D tier. Moving on to Light. I don't know if I'm going any faster than last time. I'll try and speed through these, alright? Light 0. Broken ass card. Beautiful. Absolutely despicable. This card is incredible for a lot of reasons. It flips, so that triggers whatever card might be face down. You draw cards equal to that value. If it's you can use this against your opponent, you can flip one of their cards. It's effectively a flip card and a potentially very, very high draw card. At lowest, if you're playing your cards right, pun intended, it is a draw 2. At highest, it can be like a draw 5, draw 6. That is incredible value. Love the Light 0. Light 1, I think this card is a little overhyped. It gets covered very easily. It's really not all that worth it to uncover it. Like, you have spending the effort on that could be better spent somewhere else. It's nice if the game is like stuck in a certain line and you just passively benefit from it. But honestly, it barely cracks A tier for me. I find it being consistently underwhelming and consistently ineffectual. Light 2, draw 2, you may shift or flip a revealed card. This is pretty nice. This is definitely high A tier because of the fact that you can choose a shift or flip. This works for you. This works against your opponent. You draw 2 anyways. Like, that's a pretty powerful set of effects. It's not flat out broken, so I can't say S tier, but it is definitely a very, very solid card. Very respectable. Light 3, shift all face down to another line. It's okay. I probably would give it like mid B tier. I find it sometimes is useful, but like, is it really enough to do a whole lot except in specific situations? Not really. Now, it definitely synergizes with some cards like Darkness, Apathy, stuff like that. Even Gravity. That's pretty darn nice, I will admit. So, because it has so many cards it can affect, or like so many it pairs well with, I think I will move it up a little. Still, a very so-so card. Light 4, your opponent reveals their hand. This is primarily a value card, so it's not going too high. But I wouldn't say I hate it. Like, it gets its job done, and sometimes it is genuinely useful to know what your opponent has. Say it's like Plague Zero or like a love card or whatever. Like, sometimes you want to know that. So then you can prepare for that with what cards you keep, what cards you discard, that sort of thing. Not terrible. Solid B tier. And then Light 5. Light 5 is the only 5 I think I'm going to give today that's a B tier because of its synergy with Light 0. Actually amazing. Basically, you can kind of guarantee that if you want, you will draw 5 cards. Because if not, you're a bit dependent on what the highest card on the field is. If you play this face down, then play the Light 0, Boom, 5 cards right there. I know you discard one, but presumably you would have to, at some point anyways, if you went over your cash of 5. So, that being said, this synergizes very nice with the rest of Light. I think it's a powerful card to have. Light kind of needs it too. It's not the most high value protocol otherwise, so having the 5 there actually does help it out. Moving on to Love. Love is super interesting. There's no 0, so we're starting off with a 1. Draw top card of your opponent's deck. So this Love is all about messing with your opponent. It's all about, is the gain your opponent is getting outweighing your own? And you really got to make those decisions. I think that's a very fun concept. What Love 1 is saying is, you draw their card. If you don't like it, you give it back and you draw 2. If you do like it, you can give them a shitty card and draw 2. So Love 1's pretty darn nice. Honestly might justify S tier, because you can recur this to your heart's content and just infinite your opponent's dreams away. Love 2, your opponent draws 1 card, refresh. This is definitely useful. Refresh cards are going to get a lot of hype. I think it scratches out bottom A tier, because your opponent's going to need to draw at some point, right? And if you're super low on cards, getting a card out there where you refresh, even if they draw 1, but you put 2 value on the board, is always kind of nice. Love 3, take 1 random card, give 1 card from your hand to your opponent. This is kind of Love 1, but a little watered down. It's still good. I'm going to give it top of B tier. Honestly, just because I'm kind of annoyed by the Light protocol whenever I have to play against it. But I feel like sometimes I get stuff I actually want. You have to, like, plan around for this one a little bit more, because if you have, like, decent cards and not a lot of them, you don't really want to give your opponent any, you know what I mean? Love 4, reveal 1 card from your hand, flip 1 card. You can just reveal a bad card. Like, no, you can reveal a bad card, you can reveal a 5. Like, what are they going to do with that knowledge? You have a 5, nobody cares. So, like, that's pretty nice. And then flip 1 card. It's basically a glorified flip card, but decent enough value. It is similar enough to how I described Life 4, but maybe a little bit worse. Still not bad. I'll give it B tier. It definitely deserves that much. Love 5. This is going to go C tier as well, because it kind of operates in a similar way to Hate, right? Where it's a card you just do not care about, right? If you want to give it to your opponent, you know, like, what are they? It's another 5. What are they going to do with it? They don't care. So, like, that's always nice. You get, like, a much better card than a 5 off that trade. I think it has an advantage because of that. And then Love 6, your opponent draws 2 cards. This is definitely a 6 that hurts a little bit to play, but it's not unbearable. So it'll go C tier. I don't love playing it, but it can be useful at times, you know. Moving on to Metal. Metal is a criminally bad protocol. I really want it to be better. I am a Metal believer, but my faith is waning as time goes on. Anyways, Metal 0. Opponent's total value is reduced by 2. I think that should be a higher number. I think it should be 3. Because 2 is so useless. They just counter that with a face down card. You accomplish nothing. If it was 3, that would actually be unique and interesting. But no, we'll just, like, it has more use, but it effectively just makes this a glorified 2 card. And there's already 2 cards that flip. So, annoys me. I think it could be better. B tier. That's not B tier. There we go. Metal 1. Draw 2 cards. They can't compile on their next turn. Another metal card that annoys me. I wish this would just lock your opponent in. Like, once they choose to compile, then you play this, and then you get a free turn. I wish that's what happened. But no, your opponent can still do whatever they want. So, really, it kind of annoys me. I don't even know the process for, if this card gets covered, can they then compile? Probably not, because blah, blah, blah. But anyways, still, it's a draw card. You gotta appreciate that. Metal kind of needs it, so I think I'll scratch it to very low A tier. But I think people just massively overhype what this card can do. It's not as good as people hope, including me. I want it to be better. Metal 2. Your opponent can't play cards face down this line. It's so underwhelming. It's a slight counter to, like, some, like, the life and water cards that just get cards out on the board face down, but not even that much. It really disappoints me, and I wish it was better. I am a disappointed parent. It's going, like, middle of B tier. Metal 3, draw 1, delete cards, all cards in one other line with 8 or more. Situationally, this is nice. I've used this before, but it never really feels like I'm gaining when this card has been played. It only feels like we both lose. And to me, I don't really like that. Even if you do get 3 value off of that, it's going B tier. I use this more than I think I should, which I think just speaks to how much I want it to be good, but it's not. No metal 4, so metal 5. You discard one. That's just so middle of the road. Metal 6, I used to absolutely hate this. Now I think it has its place, but still not all that good. When this card will be covered or flipped, first delete this card. That means that effectively, if your opponent if they choose to compile thinking there's no way you could match their compile, you can throw this out. If you have a line with a value of 4 and you've managed to get this in there and then trigger it, you effectively compile same time they do. That's nice. It's a little hard to get working, but it has its place. I think it's a pretty decent 6. It would probably go in between Gravity and Love for me. I think it's going to top out C tier. Now we're going to Plague, and Plague is amazing. Plague is awesome. Plague 0 and 1 are going to be instant S tiers, and I don't even think I have to elaborate, but I will. Plague 0, your opponent, you literally stop your opponent from playing the game. That's ridiculous. That's so funny, and I love it. Plague 1, you instantly draw a card based on how that works, and you can kind of keep drawing cards as your opponent has to discard. And Plague has ways to make your opponent discard, and also if they're playing any 5s whatsoever, you gain a card. So pretty good amount of draw for that. Plague 2, discard 1 or more. Your opponent discards amount of cards plus 1. Whenever a Plague player asks how many cards you have in your hand, this is the card they're thinking of. I love it. I think it's going to be decent A tier. It definitely screws with them sometimes, but they will just refresh. Still, it kind of wastes a turn they might not have used otherwise, so it always is decent to use. Plague 3, flip each other face up card. This card is actually low-key insane. I don't think people realize how insane it is. This can ruin your entire game if you don't have any flip cards. Like, if your opponent plays this and you don't have any flip, you're low-key screwed. I didn't realize how good it was until a game like a little while ago. I went from having 2 lines ready to compile to having lost a line and barely able to compile the other one. It was ridiculous. Plague 4, S tier card. Bottom of S tier, but still very good. The fact that you don't even have to flip this card is just bonkers. I don't know why they made it a May. There's very niche situations you would maybe flip it, but like, still just ridiculous overall. Crazy value too. Love it. Plague 5, it's basic 5, D tier. We're getting to be close to done. We have Psychic right now. So draw 2, and then your opponent discards 2. So it's the net gain of 4 for you, card-wise. And then they reveal their hand. That's actually kind of crazy. It's going to go high A tier. Obviously, it does Light 4's job, but better. And you get more cards and your opponent cries. So I like Psychic 0. Psychic 1, you can technically screw over your opponent entirely by covering this. You do need, say, like a Spirit or Speed card for this. I think it's both the 3s. That being said, otherwise it's kind of useless. It's a bit niche, but when it hits, you know. So I think still deserving A tier, but occasionally like so-so. Psychic 2, your opponent discards 2 cards, rearrange their protocols. This is nice. I like screwing with my opponent. Do I think it's that good? Not really. Will I still put it in A tier? Probably. Because that is always nice. Psychic 3, your opponent discards 1, shift one of their cards. It's good. Shifting a card is always nice, but I think it's still a bit... If it had a flip attached to it, this card would be broken. That being said, it doesn't, so it's going high B tier. Psychic 4, you may return one of their cards if you do flip this card. That is nice, but I think it's appropriately balanced out. So it's going to go like high B tier. Having that as an end effect is nice because you get to choose, but because you can't return anyone's cards, it has to be specifically theirs, that makes it a little weaker. Psychic 5, that's your basic discard. Basic 5 goes D tier. Speed, now we're getting a little interesting here. Speed 0 on its own, not that great. Speed 0 in conjunction with other cards, crazy. I'm going to go very high A tier, but I think it enables a lot of speed to do a lot of stuff. So it is definitely very, very good. Speed 1. It's a very nice draw card. It's appropriate and it does its job very well, but there's nothing ridiculously broken about it. Speed 2, crazy card. Crazy bad card. This card is terrible. I honestly think it's the worst card in the game. Situational, not all that useful. It's definitely a card that shows your skill level. Because if you actually get functionality out of this card, you have just outplayed your opponent, like, incredibly. I think this is honestly a disrespect card at that point. Like, if you actually get it to be used, like, you're just trolling your opponent, and I think that's hilarious. It's a great discard, though, so that, keep that as what it means. Speed 3, shift one of your other cards. You may shift one of your cards if you do flip this card. That end effect is crazy. That end effect alone justifies Speed 3 being an S tier. This is one of the most trigger effective cards in the whole game. This card is actually crazy. It is obviously instant recursion. You can use it to block other cards from flipping, deleting, shifting, whatever. Very, very good card. Even if it's only your side, still very, very good. Speed 4, it can shift from your opponent's face down cards. That's honestly quite nice, because I typically would use that to then block another card. Is it much higher than A tier? I mean, nah, it claws out a spot at the very top of B tier, but that's about it. Speed 5, discard 1, it's your basic 5. It's going here, but not below Speed 2. Last two, we got Spirit and Water. Spirit is the favorite child of this game. Spirit 0 and Spirit 1 are instantly going up here. Refresh +1, so you have 6 in your hand, and you don't have to discard them. Not having to skip your check cash phase is insane. Like, I've had a friend in combination with Infinites use this to draw my entire deck and hold it in his hand. That is a hilarious visual. His hand looked like one of those like paper fans you can get that like you can like compress or like fold out. That's what his hand looked like. This card is hilarious. It's so good. Probably best 0 in the game, to be fair, S tier. And then Spirit 1, you can play cards without matching protocols. That is extremely good. Obviously, you have to discard a card or flip this card. But honestly, I think it's almost worth flipping this card because then you get the draw 2. So again, another S tier. Spirit 2, probably the most underwhelming Spirit card. It's low-key like a very bottom of B. Having a flip is nice. The May doesn't really affect much to that wording. Like, that doesn't really matter because you could just play this face down and it'd have the same. I think, it's, you see why this card is so underwhelming, but it's fine, I guess. Spirit 3, after you draw cards, you may shift this card even if it's covered. I was going to say 2 balances out the Spirit deck, or the Spirit protocol, but 3 just says frick you to that idea. Also an S tier. Ridiculous. If you don't think this card is good, you haven't played the game enough, because it will ruin your entire day, I promise. Spirit 4, swap position to your protocols. This is obviously very nice. I like that functionality a lot. And because it's a 4, it'll gain just enough to bump it into A tier. Because that's a lot of value and a lot of strategy that comes together. Spirit 5, I guess you could argue it's useful for like the Spirit 1. I don't think that argument holds up enough, but I'll put it like higher up in D tier. Why not? And then finally, Water. Water is a card that has a significant identity crisis. It does not know what it's doing. It does stuff, but not best. So we'll see how that is. Flip one other card, flip this card. Obviously, a flip is always nice. Effectively, it just means it's a Water 2 that flips, so I don't like that too much. I put the Spirit 2 down there. I'm going to put this a little higher because I think it sometimes has use, but still just annoys me. Like, they got to stop doing this with the zeros. Stop doing that. It doesn't work. Water 1. Play the top card of your deck face down in each other line. This is probably the best Water card. I would give it pretty close to life 0. Little lower than that, but not by much. Honestly, I'll put them together. Water 2. Draw 2 cards, rearrange your protocols. Also a pretty darn good Water card. That is definitely nice. I think it gets you out of some sticky situations. Is it all that good? No. But is it very nice? Yes. Water 3. Return all cards with a value of 2 in one line. I will say, I think Water 3 is slept on very heavily because it is a near recursion engine for your own cards. There's not a whole lot of very crazy 2 cards in the game. However, by flipping some of your good cards and then bringing them back into your hand, you can then play them again. This is something that circumvents the heavy like downtime of having to cycle through your entire deck if you delete or like discard. So that is always nice. That is always very nice. Still a little undervaluable or undervalued, just in that returning for your opponent isn't really all that useful. They're just gonna play all those cards again. It will waste their time, but that's about it. Water 4, return one of your cards. Instant. Oh, I never ranked 3. My bad. Yeah, we'll go that about there. Water 4, instant recursion engine. I love this card. This is beautiful. If you play this card and then return it, you just trigger the effect that was underneath. That is super, super nice. To that extent, I think this is great, especially since you can swap your protocols with the other water card. That is nice. I think I will honestly put this. The ability to just return whatever card you need is very, very nice. So it's going to go high A tier. And then Water 5, it's a card. It's going here. It will round out the tier list. I think you get the general idea. That is all the compiled cards out now. Main 2 and Ox 2 are coming out soon, and they will almost double. Honestly, I think they do double the size of the game. So get ready for a tier list twice as big. That'll be fun. I might order this after the video. I'll put up a image of that, probably right now. And I've been working on some games with some friends. I will see if I can record those, maybe like top-down view, and get those on my channel, maybe as streams, maybe as VODs. We'll see. Anyways, that'll do it. Hopefully this was educational and maybe it was entertaining. Frankly, you have to make that decision, not me. But you should also decide to get this game because it is goated. Oh my gosh, so good. That'll be all for now. See you guys later. And go play Compile.